Lisa Reyes yawned and stretched in her chair. The night shift on the USS Horizon was always quiet. Too quiet, she thought. The small research vessel drifted at the edge of known space, collecting data on a newly discovered star system. Lisa had been the communications officer on the Horizon for 3 years now. She knew every beep and hum of her equipment. She sipped her coffee and stared at the monitors. Nothing interesting ever happened on these research missions. Part of her missed her days on military vessels where at least there was some excitement. But at 35, she had wanted something calmer, something safer. The console in front of her suddenly lit up with a flashing red light. An incoming transmission. Lisa sat up straight, fully alert now. They weren't expecting any communications from Earth Command for another 2 days. Captain Harris, she called over the ship's internal system, we're receiving a transmission. Unknown origin. Captain Nathan Harris appeared on the bridge within minutes. At 52, he moved with the energy of a much younger man. His gray hair was neatly trimmed, and his uniform was perfect despite being woken from sleep. "What do we have, Officer Reyes?" he asked, his voice calm but serious. "I'm not sure, sir. It's not using any known communication protocols. The signal is weak, but it's definitely artificial." Harris nodded. "Put it through the translator system." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her console. The ship's advanced AI began processing the strange signal. At first, they heard only static and odd clicking sounds. Then, slowly, words began to form. "Help, please. They're killing everyone. Vorax ships, attacking all worlds. Help us." The voice was strange, clearly not human, but the fear and desperation needed no translation. "Can we pinpoint the origin?" Captain Harris asked, his face now grave. Lisa worked her controls. "Yes, sir. It's coming from a star system about 3 light years from our position, the CD6 system. Any known civilizations there?" Science Officer Alan Wright joined them on the bridge, his uniform hastily put on. "No official contact, Captain. We know there are several habitable planets in that system, but Earth hasn't established communication yet." The message continued to play, growing more desperate. "Few survivors and hiding on Moonbase. Vorax fleet too powerful. Please help." Maria Delgado, the tactical officer, arrived next. Her dark eyes quickly assessed the situation. "Sir, what are your orders? Should we alert Earth Command?" Captain Harris stood silent for a long moment. Everyone on the bridge knew the protocol. They were a research vessel, not a warship. They were supposed to report the situation and wait for orders. "How long would it take for a response from Earth Command?" Harris asked. "At least 6 hours, sir," Lisa replied. "And then several more days for any military vessels to reach this location." Harris looked at the star map showing the distant signal. "And how long would it take us to reach the signal origin?" "At maximum speed, about 14 hours, sir," Wright answered. The desperate message played again. The alien voice sounded weaker now. Harris made his decision. "Officer Reyes, send a reply, tell them help is coming. Then send a full report to Earth Command." He turned to the ship's pilot who had just arrived. "Mr. Ross, set course for the SETI-6 system, maximum speed." "Captain," Wright said cautiously, "we're a research vessel. We're not equipped for combat or rescue operations." "We're still a United Earth vessel, Officer Wright," Harris replied firmly, "and we don't ignore calls for help, even if they come from species we haven't met yet." "The Horizon does have defensive capabilities, sir," Maria added. "Not much, but better than nothing." Harris nodded. "Let's hope we don't need them. Our job is to assess the situation and help survivors until the fleet arrives." Lisa sent the message as ordered, then looked up at her captain. "Sir," they've responded. "Audio only." "Play it," Harris ordered. A different alien voice came through, stronger but filled with disbelief. You are coming? Who are you?" Harris stepped forward. "This is Captain Nathan Harris of the United Earth vessel Horizon. We've received your distress call and are en route to your position. Please hold on." There was a long pause before the reply came. "Earth? The Deathworld? You are humans?" The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Harris raised an eyebrow, but continued. Yes, we are humans from Earth. What sounded like excited chattering came through the speakers. Then the alien voice returned. The Vorax don't know. They don't understand what they've done. They attack our worlds thinking we are alone. You won't be alone much longer, Harris promised. Can you tell us more about these Vorax? Any information will help us prepare. As the alien began describing their attackers, Lisa noticed something odd on her communications panel. The transmission of their exchange was being picked up by other human ships, and those ships were responding. Captain, she interrupted. Sir, I'm getting signals from other Earth vessels. They've intercepted our transmission. Which vessels? Harris asked. Lisa's eyes widened as she read the list. The destroyer USS Defender, the cruiser USS Reliance, the battleship USS Indomitable. Her voice faltered. Sir, it's not just military vessels. I'm getting responses from cargo ships, mining vessels, even private craft. They're all changing. Course. Alan Wright leaned over her shoulder to look at the screen. That's impossible. There are dozens of ships responding. Some of them are days away even at top speed. Maria checked her own tactical display. Sir, it's not just ships in this sector. I'm getting movement alerts from vessels all across known space. They're all heading toward the CD6 system. Captain, Harris stared at the display in amazement as more and more human ships appeared. Their course vectors all converging on a single point. Sir, Lisa said, her voice quiet with realization. I think we just triggered something bigger than a rescue mission. Harris nodded slowly. They called us Deathworlders like it meant something. He looked around at his crew. I think we're about to find out what that means. The USS Horizon pushed its engines to their limits, racing toward the distress call. Behind them, across the vastness of space, hundreds of human vessels broke from their routes and followed. The Deathworlder fleet had been unleashed. The message from the USS Horizon reached Earth in 6 hours. It arrived at Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva at 3:42 a.m. local time. Despite the early hour, Admiral Laura Chen was in her office. She rarely slept more than 4 hours a night, a habit from her 30 years of military service. When her screen lit up with the emergency alert, she read Captain Harris's report twice. Then she pressed a button on her desk. Get me the Defense Council, she ordered. Priority Alpha. Within 15 minutes, the 12 members of Earth's Defense Council appeared on her screen. Some looked like they had just woken up. Others, in different time zones, were in the middle of their day. I apologize for the urgency, Admiral Chen began, but we have a situation that requires immediate attention. She shared Captain Harris's report with all of them. A research vessel has picked up a distress call from an unknown alien species under attack in the CD6 system. Councilmember Greg Powell frowned. The Horizon is a research vessel. Harris should have reported and waited for orders. Captain Harris did report, Chen replied, but he also responded to the distress call. His ship is already en route to CD6. One research vessel won't make much difference, said Councilor Kevin Jackson. We should order them to return immediately. We know nothing about these aliens or their attackers. Admiral Chen leaned forward. There's more. The alien. Responders referred to humans as Deathworlders. They seemed surprised, even relieved, that humans were coming to help. The council members exchanged looks. They all knew what it meant. When humans had first made contact with alien civilizations 20 years ago, they had learned something unexpected. Earth was classified as a death world, a planet with conditions so harsh that most intelligent species couldn't survive there. Humans had evolved on a world with high gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous predators, and countless diseases. To most aliens, humans were terrifyingly resilient. And there's one more thing, Chen continued. Captain Harris's transmission was picked up by other ships. They're all changing course to join him. How many ships? Asked Counselor Olivia Martinez. Admiral Chen pulled up a map of known space. Red dots appeared, showing the positions of human vessels changing course. There were hundreds of them. It's not just military ships, Chen explained. Cargo vessels, mining ships, private craft, they're all responding. It appears Emergency Protocol Delta has been activated. The council fell silent. Protocol Delta was rarely discussed. It had been created after first contact, a response to the fear that humans might face prejudice or hostility from more advanced alien civilizations. If human vessels or colonies were ever attacked, all human ships in range would converge to defend them. But Protocol Delta had never been tested. It wasn't supposed to activate for an alien distress call. "We need to stop this," Jackson said firmly. "Order all vessels to return to their assigned routes. This is not our fight." "I disagree," Martinez countered. "If these Vorax attackers are as dangerous as the message suggests, they could become a threat to human space. Besides, those aliens called for help. We should give it. We've worked for 20 years to show the galactic community that humans aren't the dangerous brutes they think we are," Jackson argued. "If we send what amounts to an invasion fleet into an alien conflict, we'll undo all that work." Admiral Chen listened to the debate but had already made her decision. "Council members, whether we like it or not, Protocol Delta has been activated. Our ships are already moving. We can either guide this response or try to stop it and create confusion. I suggest we guide it." After 30 minutes of heated discussion, the council voted. It was close, but they decided to support the rescue mission. Admiral Chen immediately sent orders to all responding vessels. Far from Earth, Lisa Reyes on the USS Horizon was stunned by the message from Admiral Chen. She hurried to the bridge, where Captain Harris and the senior officers were planning their approach to the SETI-6 system. "Sir," she said, "I've received orders from Admiral Chen. All responding human vessels are to coordinate their arrival. We're to gather information and assess the situation until military ships arrive." Harris raised his eyebrows. "All responding vessels? How many are we talking about?" Lisa swallowed. "Over 300 ships, sir, and more are joining. Admiral Chen has officially authorized Protocol Delta." The bridge fell silent. Maria Delgado, the tactical officer, finally spoke. "Protocol Delta? That's never been activated before." "It has now," Harris said quietly. He studied the star map showing all the human ships converging on their position. "It seems we're about to make galactic history." In the darkness of space, the USS Horizon continued its journey toward the distress call. Lisa returned to her communication station where the alien messages continued to come through. They were growing more desperate by the hour. "Vorax ships have found our moon base. Main fleet approaching. Please hurry." Lisa sent back reassurances. "We're coming. Many ships. Hold on." The alien replied with a question that made Lisa pause. "How many ships can Earth send?" Lisa looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of dots moving across known space. Military vessels, research ships, cargo haulers, mining platforms, colony transports, all converging on one point. "More than you can imagine," she replied truthfully. In the SETI-6 system, the aliens hiding from the Vorax attackers received this message with confusion. Their knowledge of humans was limited. They knew Earth was classified as a death world. They knew humans were physically stronger than most species because of their home planet's high gravity. But they didn't understand what was coming. They didn't understand that humans, having evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day, had developed a deep instinct to protect others. They didn't know that human ships carried emergency medical supplies for species they had never met. They didn't realize that human crews trained constantly for rescue operations in hostile environments. Most importantly, they didn't know what it meant when a species that had survived a death world decided to fight. The Vorax would learn soon enough. The Deathworlders were coming. The USS Defender was the first military vessel to reach the SETI-6 system. The destroyer had been on patrol only half a light year away when it picked up the Horizon's transmission. Captain Sean Winters stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Find me those alien refugees." The ship's sensors swept the star system. SETI-6 was a yellow star with 7 planets. The third and fourth planets showed signs of civilization. But there was also heavy damage. "Captain," said the sensor officer, "I'm detecting multiple ships around the fourth planet. Their energy signatures don't match anything in our database." "Those must be the Vorax ships," Winters said. "What about the refugees?" "There's a small moon orbiting the fourth planet. I'm picking up faint life signs and a weak energy signature there. It might be their hiding place. Winters nodded. And the Vorax? How many ships? I count 3 large vessels near the planet. And, sir, one of them is breaking away. It's heading toward the moon. Winters made his decision quickly. Battle stations. Prepare to intercept the Vorax ship. We can't let it reach those refugees. The USS Defender powered up its engines and weapons. As a destroyer, it was built for speed and firepower. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Many of them had served together for years. Sir, the communications officer called out, I'm receiving a transmission from the Vorax ship. They're ordering us to leave the system. Put it on screen, Winters ordered. The image that appeared showed an alien unlike any the humans had seen before. It had gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. Its mouth was filled with sharp teeth. Unknown vessel, the Vorax commander said. This system is claimed by the Vorax Collective. Leave immediately or be destroyed. Winters stepped forward. This is Captain Sean Winters of the Earth vessel USS Defender. We've received a distress call from this system. We're here to render assistance. The Vorax commander made a harsh sound. That might have been laughter. The weak species hiding on that moon will be eliminated. Their resources belong to the Collective now. This is not your concern. I'm making it my concern, Winters replied calmly. Turn your vessel around. Now. The Vorax commander's yellow eyes narrowed. You dare to give orders to the Collective? Your ship is alone. Ours is 3 times your size. I won't ask again, Winters said. The Vorax ended the transmission. Moments later, the sensor officer shouted, Sir, they're powering up weapons. Evasive maneuvers, Winters ordered. Return fire only if fired upon. The Defender moved quickly, its engines pushing it to one side as the Vorax ship fired. Bright energy beams passed through empty space where the human ship had been moments before. They've fired on us, Winters said. We are now clear to engage. Target their weapon systems. The Defender's main guns powered up. Unlike the Vorax's energy weapons, human ships used railguns and missiles. The railguns fired metal projectiles at incredible speeds. They were simple, but effective. 3 shots hit the Vorax ship directly on its weapon ports. The alien vessel shuddered under the impact. Direct hits, sir, reported the weapons officer. Their forward weapons are disabled. The Vorax ship turned to bring its side weapons to bear. It fired again, and this time one of the energy beams grazed the Defender's hull. Minor damage to the outer hull, reported the damage control officer. Shields holding at 92%. Target their engines, Winters ordered. Let's end this. The Defender fired a spread of missiles. The Vorax ship tried to shoot them down, but 3 missiles got through. They exploded against the alien ship's engine section. The Vorax vessel began to drift. Its engines darkened. It was disabled but not destroyed. Sir, the communications officer said, the other 2 Vorax ships have noticed us. They're leaving the planet and heading this way. Winters checked his tactical display. The 2 remaining Vorax ships were larger than the first. Even for a well-armed destroyer like the Defender, those odds weren't good. How long until reinforcements arrive? He asked. The USS Reliance will be here in 30 minutes. The USS Horizon in about 45. Winters nodded. Send a message to the refugees on the moon. Tell them we've engaged the Vorax. Help is coming. Just then, a new voice came over the communications system. Defender, this is the civilian mining vessel Northern Star. We're entering the system now. Need a hand? Winters blinked in surprise. Northern Star? You're a mining ship. You're not armed for combat. The reply came back with a laugh. We've got 6 industrial mining lasers and shields designed to withstand meteor impacts. We might not be military, but we're not helpless either. Before Winters could respond, another voice joined in. Defender, this is the Colony Transport Rocky Mountain. We're 5 minutes out. We've got 4 defensive turrets and 300 colonists who know how to use them. More messages followed as ships entered the system one after another. Cargo vessels, research ships, private yachts. None of them were warships, but all were crewed by humans. Deathworlders who knew how to fight. On the bridge of the Defender, Captain Winters felt a smile spread across his face. "Well," he said to his crew, "it looks like the party's getting started." The two approaching Vorax ships slowed as their sensors detected more and more human vessels entering the system. By the time they came within firing range of the Defender, 15 human ships had formed a defensive line. "Vorax vessels," Winters broadcast on an open channel. "This is your final warning. Leave this system or be destroyed." For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then, slowly, the Vorax ships turned away. They retreated to the far side of the fourth planet. On the moon, the alien refugees watched through their sensors as the human fleet continued to grow. Ships of all sizes and types formed a protective ring around their hiding place. "The Deathworlders came," one of them whispered. "They really came." Another alien, older and wiser, nodded slowly. "And the Vorax now know what that means." In the darkness of space, more human ships arrived every hour. The Deathworlder fleet was assembling. And the real battle had not yet begun. Admiral William Foster arrived in the SETI-6 system aboard the dreadnought USS Resolute 18 hours after the first distress call. By then, over 80 human ships had gathered near the refugee moon. The Resolute was the largest human warship ever built, nearly a mile long with weapons that could destroy a small moon. Foster stood on the command deck studying the tactical display. The 3 Vorax ships that Captain Winters had encountered earlier had retreated to join their main fleet on the far side of the planet. Sensors showed that the Vorax fleet now numbered around 60 vessels. "Get me Captain Winters," Foster ordered. Moments later, the captain of the USS Defender appeared on screen. He looked tired but alert. "Report, Captain," Foster said. "Admiral, we've established a defense perimeter around the refugee moon. The Vorax haven't made any moves since their first attempt. We've also sent medical teams to help the refugees. They call themselves the Elysians." "What's their condition?" "Not good, sir. Their main worlds have been under attack for weeks. The survivors on the moon are mostly civilians, about 2,000 of them." Foster nodded grimly. "And the Vorax?" "They've gathered their fleet on the far side of the planet. They're just sitting there. I think they're waiting for something." As if on cue, a sensor officer called out, "Admiral, new contacts detected entering the system, many new contacts." The tactical display updated to show dozens of ships emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They were Vorax vessels, and they were heading straight for the human fleet. "It's their reinforcements," Foster said quietly. "How many?" "I count 143 new vessels, sir," the sensor officer replied. "Total Vorax fleet now numbers over 200 ships." The bridge fell silent. Even with all the human vessels that had arrived, they were outnumbered at least 2 to 1. Foster turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to all human ships." When the channel was open, Foster spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Admiral Foster. The Vorax fleet has been reinforced and is approaching our position. We are outnumbered, but we are not outmatched. Remember why we are here. Those refugees called for help, and we answered. We will not abandon them now." He paused, then continued. "All military vessels form up according to Battle Plan Echo. Civilian ships with defensive capabilities take position around the moon. Unarmed vessels begin evacuating the refugees. We will hold the line." Across the human fleet, ships began to move. Military vessels formed the front line with destroyers like the Defender at the flanks and cruisers in the center. The massive Resolute took position at the heart of the formation. On the bridge of the USS Horizon, which had arrived just hours earlier, Captain Harris watched the military ships move into position. "We should join the evacuation effort," he said to his crew. "We can take about 100 refugees aboard." Lisa Reyes, who had been in constant communication with the Elysians, looked up from her station. "Sir, the Elysians are asking to speak with you," Harris nodded. "Put them through." The screen showed an alien with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. This was Varel, the leader of the Elysian survivors. "Captain Harris," Varel said, You were the first to answer our call. We owe you our gratitude. No thanks needed, Harris replied. We're preparing to evacuate your people. We can take some aboard our ship. Veryl's silver eyes blinked slowly. We have observed your fleet preparing for battle. The Vorax outnumber you greatly. Why would you risk so much for strangers? Harris considered the question. Where I come from, we have a saying, no one gets left behind. It's that simple. The Elysian seemed puzzled. But you evolved on a death world. Your species survived by being stronger, more aggressive than others. Why would you help the weak? That's not how we survived, Harris explained. Humans aren't stronger than our world because we're aggressive. We're stronger because we work together. We help each other. That's how we survived on Earth, and that's why we're here now. Before Veryl could respond, the tactical alert sounded. The Vorax fleet had begun to move. Admiral Foster's voice came over the communication system. All ships, prepare for combat. The Vorax fleet has divided into 3 groups. They're trying to surround us. On the Resolute's command deck, Foster turned to his tactical officer. They're using standard encirclement tactics they think will respond with a defensive formation. What are your orders, sir? The tactical officer asked. Foster smiled grimly. Humans don't fight like other species. Signal the fleet. Execute Battle Plan Echo. Throughout the human fleet, commanders received their orders. Instead of forming a defensive circle as the Vorax expected, the human ships divided into 3 groups. Battle Group Alpha, led by Commander Grace Peterson aboard the cruiser USS Liberty, moved directly toward the center Vorax formation. Battle Group Beta, under the command of Henry Russell on the USS Constitution, performed a complex maneuver that would take them behind the Vorax left flank. Battle Group Gamma, led by Admiral Foster on the Resolute, maintained position to protect the refugee moon. The Vorax commanders were confused by the human tactics. The human ships were dividing their forces against a superior enemy. It made no sense. Then Battle Group Alpha opened fire. Instead of targeting the Vorax ships, they fired at the empty space between them. Hundreds of small objects were released from the human vessels. What are they doing? A Vorax commander demanded. The answer came seconds later when the objects exploded, creating a massive cloud of debris and electromagnetic interference. The Vorax ships in the center group suddenly found themselves blind, their sensors unable to penetrate the cloud. At the same moment, Battle Group Beta emerged behind the Vorax left flank and opened fire. The Vorax ships, caught by surprise, took heavy damage before they could respond. The battle had begun. The Deathworlders were fighting back. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human and Vorax ships fired at each other in the darkness of space. The Vorax had more ships, but the humans fought with a fierce intelligence that surprised them. On the bridge of the USS Resolute, Admiral Foster watched the tactical display. His plan was working. Battle Group Alpha had created chaos in the center of the Vorax fleet. Battle Group Beta had struck hard at their left flank. Now it was time for the final move. Signal Battle Group Gamma. Foster ordered, begin the push. The ships of Battle Group Gamma, which had been protecting the refugee moon, now moved forward. With the Resolute leading the way, they drove straight toward the right flank of the Vorax fleet. The Vorax commander had never seen such tactics. His fleet was larger, but the humans had divided his forces and were attacking from 3 directions. His ships could not support each other. Admiral, the sensor officer called out. Vorax vessels are breaking formation. Some are retreating. Foster nodded. They're starting to understand. Press the attack. Don't let them regroup. The battle continued. Human ships took damage, but they kept fighting. When a ship lost its weapons, it became a rescue vessel or a battering ram. When engines failed, crews rerouted power to shields and guns. Nothing stopped them. On the refugee moon, the Elysians watched in awe. They had called for help, hoping for a miracle. Instead, they got humans. Aboard the USS Horizon, Captain Harris and his crew worked to treat injured Elysians. The research vessel was never meant for combat, so Harris had turned it into a hospital ship. Lisa Reyes moved among the refugees, using her translator to communicate. One young Elysian approached her carefully. "Are all humans like this?" the alien asked, so determined to help strangers. Lisa smiled. "Pretty much. We learned long ago that helping each other is how we survive. But your world, they say it's a terrible place. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous animals. Earth is challenging," Lisa agreed. "But that's why we're strong. Not just physically, but here." She touched her heart. "We know what it's like to fight against impossible odds. We won't let anyone face that alone." The young Elysian seemed to understand. Before it could respond, the ship shook violently. "What was that?" Lisa asked, grabbing a wall for support. The ship's communication system came to life. "All hands, this is the captain. A Vorax ship has broken through our lines. They're attacking the moon. Battle stations." In space, a lone Vorax battleship had managed to slip past the human fleet. It approached the moon, weapons ready to fire on the refugee base. The USS Horizon was the only human ship close enough to intervene, but it was a research vessel with minimal weapons. Captain Harris knew they couldn't stop the Vorax ship in a direct fight, but he also knew they couldn't let it reach the moon. Thousands of refugees were still there, waiting to be evacuated. "Helm," Harris ordered. "Set course to intercept. Maximum speed." "Sir," the pilot protested, "they outgun us 10-1. "I know. We're not going to shoot them. We're going to block them." The Horizon raced forward, putting itself between the Vorax ship and the moon. The massive alien vessel loomed before them, its weapons ports glowing with energy. "Open a channel," Harris said. When the connection was made, Harris spoke clearly. "Vorax vessel, this is Captain Harris of the USS Horizon. Turn back now." The Vorax commander appeared on screen. "Move aside, human. Or be destroyed." "I can't do that. There are innocent civilians on that moon. Weak species deserve to perish. The collective will have the system." Harris shook his head. "Not while we're here." The Vorax commander gave an order, and the alien ship's weapons powered up. The Horizon's shields wouldn't last more than a few seconds against such firepower. Suddenly a new voice broke in. "This is Commander Susan Rivera of the Earth vessel USS Independence. Stand down, Vorax ship." A sleek human cruiser appeared, sliding into position beside the Horizon. Then another ship joined them, and another. The ships that had been evacuating. Refugees now formed a wall between the Vorax battleship and the moon. None of them were as powerful as the Vorax vessel, but together they created an impenetrable barrier. The Vorax commander hesitated. He could destroy 1 or 2 human ships, but not all of them. And by now other human vessels had noticed his break from the main battle. They were coming. With a growl of frustration, the Vorax commander ordered his ship to retreat. The humans had won this small victory. Back at the main battle, Admiral Foster saw that the tide had turned. The Vorax fleet was in disarray. Nearly a third of their ships had been disabled or destroyed. The rest were struggling to maintain formation. "Send a message to the Vorax command ship," Foster ordered. "Tell them they have one chance to leave this system. Otherwise, we will destroy every ship they have." The Vorax didn't respond immediately. For 15 tense minutes, the battle continued. Then slowly the alien ships began to pull back. Their formation broke apart as they retreated to the edge of the system. Cheers erupted across the human fleet. They had won. The cost had been high. 22 human ships destroyed, hundreds of crew members dead or injured. But they had saved the Elysians. 3 days later, Admiral Foster stood in the main hangar bay of the USS Resolute. Before him were representatives from the Elysian refugees and from 12 other species who had been threatened by the Vorax collective. "You called for help," Foster said simply, "and we answered. That's what humans do." The Elysian leader, Varel, stepped forward. "Why would you sacrifice so much for species you've never met?" Lieutenant Heather Diaz, a young officer who had led a rescue team during the battle, asked permission to speak. Foster nodded. Diaz showed them an image of Earth. Beautiful but harsh, with its crushing gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous animals, and powerful storms. "Our world made us strong," she said. But it also taught us compassion. On Earth, those who stand alone often perish. Those who help each other survive. We brought that lesson to the stars. In the days that followed, human ships helped the Elysians begin to rebuild. Medical vessels cared for the wounded. Engineering teams repaired damage to the moon base. Supply ships brought food and materials. And far across the galaxy, word spread quickly. The Deathworlders had revealed their true nature. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. When the USS Horizon finally prepared to return to Earth, Lisa Reyes stood at a viewport, watching Elysian children playing with human aid workers. Captain Harris joined her. "Quite a journey from that first distress call," he said. Lisa nodded. "Did you know what would happen when you answered it?" "I knew what humans would do," he replied. "We were forged in adversity. We learned to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That's the legacy of Earth. That's the promise of Deathworlders." As the ships of the human fleet began their journeys home, the stars seemed a little brighter, and the universe had learned an important lesson. Never threaten the weak. When the Deathworlders are listening,